video games. They usually have a lot going on to make the world feel alive and immersive. Moving foliage like grass and trees, particles flying around to create some atmosphere. But the key ingredient in games are the living things in it. Characters, animals, and monsters all play a key point because these are the things that interact directly with you, most of the time. On one side of the spectrum, we have games like Sable, where you go on a rite of passage through the desert on your trusty bike, barely seeing any living thing. And on the other side of the spectrum, we have games like Abzu, which tells a beautiful story under the ocean. And what lives under the ocean, you might wonder? I'm talking fish, and a lot of it. Games underwater like Subnautica and Abzu usually have plants and fish making the world feel alive. And Abzu takes us to the next level, sometimes showing thousands of fish in one frame. Whilst this results in an epic and beautiful environment, having this many animated animals in your frame is not something your PC likes. And why, you may ask? Well, let me explain. There are multiple ways to animate in video games, and the most popular one is by using bones. After the mesh, or the 3D model, is finished, developers give this body bones, like in real life. The mesh around these bones are then weighted, telling how much influence the bone has on the overlaying mesh when moved. So when you move these bones, they move the body the way you want. Then, by using keyframes on a timeline, you can set the bones in different positions at different times to make very cool and awesome animations. Let's try this out in the game engine. For this example, I made a snake. And when we write a little script to add it to our scene, it pops in there without a problem. I made a simple script that makes the snake move to a random point on the floor. And when it reaches this point, it finds another one to go to. It kind of works, but
I'm not seeing enough movement.
So let's add some bones and animate the snakes to make them feel a bit more alive. Enjoy this scuffed snake wiggle? Now let's add some more. Everything seems fine. More. Okay, minor frame drops, no problem. More. Wait. Why is there smoke coming from my... Seems my PC doesn't like to handle thousands of snakes. And when you think about it, it makes sense. The snake I made for this video has 12 bones, which is already quite a low number. 12 times 10,000 equals 120,000 bones, which all move mesh at the same time. But for Abzu, this doesn't seem a problem. Why? Well, part of the solution is Vertex displacement. This is another way to move your mesh, but you have less control than when you're using bones. Vertex displacement basically means that you tell the vertices or points on your mesh to move in a certain direction by making a shader. Take a look at this plane. When we look at the wireframe, we can see that this plane consists of many vertices. And when we scroll a black and white texture over it, we can tell our vertices to move up or down according to the color. In our case, white means that the vertices go up and black remains on the same height. This is a common technique developers use to make water surfaces feel alive in combination with some other elements. When models like snakes have a simple repetitive cycle, we can use a vertex displacement shader to make it look like it's wiggling in our case. To make this shader, I used math. By using the Harry Styles song, The Sign of Times, we can make a texture go from black to white in a sine wave pattern. We can use this moving black and white pattern to move the vertices on our snake on an axis we want. In our case, we want it to follow the z-axis. But you might see that our entire snake is moving. And I would like to keep the head still because I hate myself and I want to make things more difficult. To do this, I implemented a mask which tells a snake how much of the mesh needs to be influenced by Harry Styles. Et voila, we have a somewhat decently animated snake. Our snake can move straight ahead now, but it looks pretty awkward when it needs to turn. fix this, we're gonna take a look at the second solution. Blendshapes or shapekeys are another neat way to animate models. Like with Vertex displacement, shapekeys or blendshapes give you less control than by using bones. It is mostly used for animating mouth movement for talking, but it can accomplish some complex animations with enough time and skill. Oh, that was a tongue twister. To summarize how this works, let's take a look at this face. We start by adding a basis as a reference for how the mesh normally looks. We can then add another shape and alter the model by hand. Now that we have two shapes, we can move this cool slider to blend between these shapes. And he's talking. This is a less expensive way than using bones. So we will add it to our snake and alter the shape for when it turns. Et voila, it kind of looks like it's turning right now. To see if this is enough, we're going back to our game engine Unity to see how our snakes are doing. Let's make a build because performance is a little bit better. And let's put them all in at once. Alright, my new PC is still alive and the snakes are snaking around like they should. So I guess mission passed. There are quite a few frame drops, but with this much mesh in one frame, it's to be expected. Say we try out 5000 snakes and the frame rate is much better. So let's conclude our experiment right here. Even though it isn't common for games to display this many animated objects in one scene or frame, this is how the ones that do probably do it. There are many other ways developers optimize their games in order for it to run smoothly, and I want to showcase more of them in upcoming videos. But for now, this is it. Thanks for watching. Beans out.